Allison from BrainPop. This is Jessica Millstone from the CUNY Center. We've been partners in crime on research on teachers' attitudes and beliefs towards digital games over the last couple of months, and we're excited to share it with you and be here today. So I thought we would start by playing a game together. Are any of you familiar with Lore of the Labyrinth games? Awesome. So hopefully this is a game that you can learn about and then share with your students. Are most people here teachers? Raise your hand if you're a teacher. Great, okay. Okay, so this is one of the games on Game Up, which is a link from BrainPop's homepage. It's a collection of free, what we feel are the best quality games, online games, playable on browsers. And you can search by subject area, or all of the games are also aligned to academic standards, Common Core and state standards, so they tie right into your curriculum. So I'm going to go into math games. And we'll try one of 3 Lore of the Labyrinth games that we have called Employee Lounge. So it starts out with a graphic novel style introduction. I'm going to skip ahead through that. Here we go. So what we're seeing right now is this machine in this employee lounge, and that blob character was saying, I'm hungry, but I have no arms or hands, and I need some help getting some food. So that's the challenge. There's no directions, so we as a class have to figure out what to do. So if I were using this with my students, I'd probably project this on the interactive whiteboard, and our first attempt at the game would be trying to problem solve. What do we do here? There's no directions. What do you guys think we should do? So go ahead and yell out what you recommend doing. Say it again. Okay. Feed something and try clicking on the pretzel. Okay, let's try to put an eye and then 3 pipes. Okay, now what? What just happened is a little bit of food came out of the machine and we got some information on the upper right. So turn to the person next to you and say what you think you should do next. Okay, what now? 3 purples. Okay, so I heard a lot of people just figure something out, right? So now, at this point, I would probably send my kids back to work in pairs to go a little bit more into the game. As I'm walking around the room, I might notice that certain groups are struggling with different concepts. And you can see, are most people familiar with BrainPop? The short animated videos. So this is all within the context of BrainPop. So without leaving the screen of the game, I can see if certain students are struggling, I can say, okay guys, pause the game for a second. Watch this movie on equations with variables. That's going to build up their background knowledge on that topic, or I might do some small group work or work with them with other resources I have, and then send them back to go into the game, and they'll have that. With all the play testing that we've been doing, we see a lot of kids will just go to the BrainPop movie because they know that's a place to get information, and then they go back to the game. Okay, so we'll play for another minute so you can feel a little closure with the game. Okay, so we know that the purple are 6. What should we try now? 3 weeks. Okay, you notice anything happening? think that's telling us? Yeah, that's what we're going for next. So we have to figure out how to get 16. Try 2 blues and a purple. There's also a ton of support materials around this game. There's really cool looking graphic organizers. Awesome. Well done. And this game, now you see there's a new color that was introduced, a new mystery color. The game changes every time you play. It's highly replayable. So this is the kind of game that's just got so much appeal. It's so collaborative. It's not a competitive type of game. I just get so excited about these games and kind of want to go back to teaching to be able to do these with my students. But you get the idea. So it keeps going. It gets a little more sophisticated as you play. And then all of the games have this lesson ideas button that links to all kinds of support materials. So we'll talk a little bit about more about support materials later in our presentation. So again, Game Up is totally free. You can find it on BrainPop's website. The URL is just brainpop.com/games. Free, it's already vetted, ties right into your curriculum, and aligns to academic standards. Question? No, you don't need to log in or anything. The videos, one of the videos will be free. If you wanted access to all of the videos, that's when you would use a BrainPop subscription. But exactly, unless you subscribe, yeah. Then they can access all of them if they're logged in. I don't think I was logged in just now. So yeah, you don't need to subscribe to BrainPop. This game stuff and all of the support around it totally free, which is why I'm very passionate about spreading the word to teachers. And keep questions coming, that's great. Oh, yeah. Sorry. I didn't design this game, so that's a good point. So what BrainPop is doing is seeing that other people are producing these amazing games better than we could, so we're partnering with, we've got about 40 or so games on Game Up, and let's switch back over for just a second. So if I go back to the Game Up homepage, So here's the Game Up homepage. There's a featured game in this bigger box, search buttons to the right, and then you can scroll through 8 pages. We've got about 40-something games right now. 3 of them are games that BrainPop developed. We have a new one out called Guts and Bolts that's on the homepage right now on body systems. But most of the games are developed by partners of ours. So yeah, Laura the Labyrinth is actually part of the MIT Education Arcade. And Maryland Public Television. So they would be people to ask about the process, and they have a phenomenal resource site for educators, extra materials for parents. So we always link to our partners' resources as well as develop a lesson plan, and we're trying to come up with videos that show, what would this look like, what would this sound like in a variety of different settings, so that teachers can get the idea and know, okay, this is how I would use it with my kids, by getting that idea. Yeah, so over on the right-hand side, we also have a link where we feature a couple of student-made games, and I have cards, we can talk after about that. We also have resources where it says create your own games for student-made games, and I know there's a couple of workshops. I know tomorrow Steve Isaacs is doing one of the workshops on making games with your students. we're very, very selective about what we post. But if you've got students making phenomenal games, you should definitely, we should talk about it. Great questions, thanks. So, part of what we've been doing over the past, few months is talking to teachers about how they're using games in the classroom. And my work at the Joe Cooney Center, which is part of Sesame Workshop, is to think about how to get out some of those stories to the public. So very similar to what Sean was talking about in the keynote, that teachers have these phenomenal narratives about how they're using games, and we wanted to publish them in some way. So we did two things. We did a series of case studies on teachers who use games, and we're in New York, we're based in New York, so our teachers are in the New York, New Jersey area. And then we also wanted to talk to teachers nationwide. So we did a survey of 500 teachers who identified as teachers who use digital games in their classroom, and kind of got some information about what their findings with their students, with themselves, how they learned about it, what they think is the future of this, and some of the challenges and obstacles that they have. So we wanted to show you, just to start the ball off, one of our teacher case studies. This is Lisa Parisi. She's a fourth grade teacher in Long Island, and she is using games in the classroom. So, and all these videos are available on YouTube. I'll show the link behind. It's about 3 minutes.
My name is Lisa Parisi. I teach 4th grade at the Denton Avenue Elementary School. I've been using games since I first started teaching. And so when we got computers, we just naturally moved from board games to computer games. I think there are so many positives about gaming in the classroom. Digital games go perfectly with a project-based learning curriculum. There's so many games out there, so many. If I know particular sites like Brain Pop and Game Up, I can actually go in and search for whatever time I'm doing. It's just a new way of looking at gaming, and looking at games as what is the educational value. The biggest things that I have to remember is that our children have knowledge before they come to us. What they really come with more than anything is lack of fear. Or when I teach adults about computers, they're always afraid if I push this button, what's going to happen? Children never think about that. They'll push any button they can, and then discover all kinds of new things. We do a lot of test prep where the children have to explain all their answers in math and explain all their behavior reading. Games can show me a little window into their thinking. There are some children when they're playing games, they just follow the rule and never figure out strategy. And so that really shows me that they're not understanding the concept, and I need to talk with them a little bit about it. The child who figures it out right away, now I can go to that child and say, tell me exactly how you did it. Or, better yet, take that child, with the child with no strategy, and say, now explain the strategy, and then try to. I think the largest obstacle that I face with using games in the classroom is acceptance, especially by parents. Parents don't understand why their children have to play games for home. They don't understand why their children come to school to play games. And so I spend a lot of time educating and showing them, these are the games, this is the educational value of it, this is what I'm learning. I definitely find my children teaching themselves the most when they're using games. A really good example of that is when we play Mega High, which is a math program. They had been playing a game about prime numbers. They liked the game because you had to shoot at robots. But they learned about prime numbers while they were doing that. It was phenomenal. And it made me teaching that lesson so much easier.
So what we've been finding with the videos is that teachers are coming back to us and telling us about how remarkable it is to see what one teacher is doing in the classroom and how applicable that is for their classroom. Even if their students look totally different, their classroom might look totally different. I think, as Sean said in his keynote, that teachers have a very particular personality type, and they're very good at looking at one environment and adapting it, looking at the practice of one teacher in one environment and adapting it to their own video to show you. This is actually Steve Isaacs, who will be presenting tomorrow at Allison said on doing game design with your students in the classroom.
My name is Steve Isaacs. I teach video game design and development. I teach here at William and Middle School, which is in an affluent suburb of New Jersey. The kids come pretty prepared for learning, and they're just in a good situation all around. Games are very motivating. There's no question that kids are playing games and love games. So my thought was I'd like to see kids developing their own games for one. And also I was teaching programming classes, and I can't see a better way to get kids excited about programming than by programming and developing their own games. I think if my kids had their way, I would just say, okay, create this kind of game, and just start. I impose the importance of the design process first, which involves creating a design document, storyline, and all that. But I teach them the basic mechanics. Once they understand the basics, then they get many ideas of what they want to accomplish. The Games for Mechanics site itself has a lot of resources for teachers, including curriculum. Right? So some activities I've taken from their curriculum, as well as the fact that they guide students through the process of learning Games for Mechanics. Most of my class time is spent me helping kids as they need help, helping them come up with ideas, for how they would solve a problem. We get to a point where the kids, can create first just a very simple sample game on their own.
My game is the player will have to go through 3 levels, so it's based on the triathlon theory. For my partner, I was told that like my level 2, which where the player is under the ocean, is harder than my level 3. So I had to change that and add more storylines so the player fully knows what she has to undertake.
I want to teach them the basics, but my goal is always with my students know more than I do by the end. I want to teach them how to learn. My style is very much, I want to facilitate the process. I'll teach what needs to be taught to get them started, but I like to get that spark going and then support it and then go in many different directions. And this is one area that absolutely.
So I also just wanted to say that one of the reasons why Allison and I are also here today talking to you about this is that we're recruiting more teachers for further case studies. So I hope to meet some of you guys who are already engaged in the classroom and talk a little bit about what you're doing and maybe do a little bit case study around your innovative practices. Okay, so a couple of results that came out of these teachers that are already using these games, and I won't read through all of it. I'll give you a second to look at it and give you kind of a summary of it. And while you're looking at that, I also just wanted to mention we saw 2 of the case studies. There's the 2 other ones. One of them is Joel Levin, super rock star of Minecraft. It shows him using Minecraft with his 2nd graders. And then the other one is a teacher named Ginger Stevens who teaches at a school called Quest to Learn in New York City. It's a game-based curriculum. And she focuses on using kinesthetic games with special needs students. So our aim is to kind of have something for everybody and we're continuing to build those up. Okay, so we see that 3/5 of teachers say that they've seen their students become better collaborators and have increased attention to specific tasks. The same proportion also feel that lower performing students show increased engagement with the content.
And this is also some information that you can pass back to your administration if you have pushback from your parents or administration.
Specifically looking at the performance of lower performing students, Teachers say that digital game technology engages and motivates almost 70% of their students, makes it easier to teach groups of mixed ability, and that's about over 60%, and another 60% say that it enables the teachers to personalize instruction. One of our first slides talked about some of the barriers regarding using digital games. Cost, of course, is one of the barriers, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a second, ways around that. And lack of technology resources is the second greatest barrier. Emphasis on standardized testing scores is also something that almost 40% of teachers report as a barrier, feeling like because of that, how could I possibly do this? I see people nodding their heads.
As we saw in the recent Parisi video, she's actually using games to do test work. So it's nice to have some examples to sort of
So what I used to do at BrainPop before I started focusing on the games was run our online community. It's called BrainPop Educators. It's also totally free. And we've recently added a lot of features on here. So I'll back up for a second. In the BrainPop homepage, the link to BrainPop Educators is just under the logo in the upper left. The link to Game Up is right here under the feature grouping. So I'm going to go into BrainPop Educators. We do have things like answers to activity pages and stuff on there that we don't want students using, so you do need to register to access everything, but we made it a very quick and easy registration form. And so if I go to the upper right-hand side, there's a menu called Funding. So I'm clicking on that. Has anybody had success writing grants in here? So grants opened up a whole new world for me in my classroom. We link to a couple of different resources for writing grants. Donors Choose is the one that I personally had really great experience with and success with. You can write a very quick and easy grant for something like, a laptop computer for your classroom, or if there's a game that you wanted to buy, or something like that. I think I got a TV before interactive whiteboards were around. That was like the big thing, and a projector through Donors Choose. You can also search to read other grants to get some ideas and inspiration. We have a grant writer's reference tool on here to also support you. So this is not just for funding a BrainPop subscription. This is for whatever you might need for your classroom. So I just want to make sure people know that this is available. BrainPop.com. And that's it. I think we've got five or so minutes for questions. Anybody has questions? And we'll be around if you want to continue the conversation. We would love to talk more and find out what you're doing. If there's any games that you know of, I'm particularly interested in looking at games for kindergarten through third graders, and expanding Game Up right now is really geared more towards third grade and up. A lot of the games are really more like fifth grade and up. But if you're interested in specific recommendations, I spend a lot of time on educational games, so happy to talk about this stuff. Oh yeah, great. Yeah, thanks very much.
What age? Well, I mean, I think one of the motivations of the research center that I work for at Sesame was to take a really credible source like Sesame Street and say, this is what teachers are doing, these are the results that they're finding. So when you see something in Sesame saying 70% of teachers who we surveyed are finding that it helps their lowest performing students in the classroom, that's something you need to go to your administrator. Like, this is research that's like downloadable and it's really available and often quoted, in sort of the, yeah. It's not actually based on customers at all. It's based on what we did with the survey called teacher perceptions. It's a perceptions and attitudes beliefs survey. So our data is anecdotal from the teachers, I should say self-reporting from the teachers. But the case studies themselves are the backup. That's the qualitative piece of one-on-one teacher showing in the classroom observation how their students are using this material. So the example that we have for special educators is a very specific example of a game that's installed in the classroom. It's a very high-tech solution to it. But actually, I mean, one thing that I'm really interested in is talking to special educators about how they're using more typical games in the classroom to show that work. Because I think when you see it on the screen, then you can really, that's the proof right there. It's not just the numbers and the data, it's the actual experience.
And it sounds like you said many or most of your students have phones. So that could be a really great place to start. And we can talk maybe afterwards about some great apps. And you might do your own sort of informal study and create a post test and generate excitement and a buzz and get some press. And maybe that'll do the trick to the administration. And I bet, yeah, other people might want to.
So you can circumvent. So they might be especially open to a bring your own device program like that because it does circumvent that sort of necessity of using additional technologies.
Sure. Yeah.
That would be the same as like a mobile phone game. So they run on the same operating system.
What age? We may need to stop now, but we can certainly talk after. What ages do you work with? Okay. All right. In lower years. Yeah, Tokaboka makes amazing apps. Motion Math makes amazing apps. But let's keep talking because I love talking about that. I think maybe we can take one last question.